Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. And last night, World Rugby officially named the Dream Team of the year. And it's quite a contentious one, with a lot of people debating some of the selections, some of the inclusions, some of the exclusions as well. And so I thought it would be a cool exercise to basically do our own version of the Dream Team and sort of see where we potentially differ and what positions which I think are worth sort of having a look at in terms of where our sort of changed. And always going to be an interesting thing to try and judge because majority of the time it's supposed to be judged on international performances, for example. So you don't really sort of take your club performances into account. And it's always difficult because recency bias is a major thing, and you've got the likes of all the sort of England, well, the Six Nations who play the Six Nations right at the beginning of the year, and so it's quite easy to forget what the Six Nations was like, and then you kind of have this Autumn Nation series, and all of a sudden those sort of performances are right on the front of your mind, as well as like the Rugby Championship. But I've differed with it quite a bit. I've gone with I think the only sort of pairing that I've stuck with in the entire sort of 15 is actually the two locks, to be perfectly honest. But first, we're going to show you the World Rugby Dream Team, and then I'll show you what I've gone with. And I want to know what your dream team would be down in the comments below as well. Right, so this is what I've gone with. Well, sorry, this is rather the World Rugby Dream Team. So in this team, there are 7 South Africans: Damien Delaney, Jesse Creel, Cheslin Colby, Peter Steph, Evan Etzebeth, Malcolm Marks, and Oxen Chair. I've gone with fewer, just by the way. And there's a couple of ones that I think are quite sort of contentious, maybe, and I'll sort of tell you exactly why I've kind of sort of changed it from there. So this is what I've gone with my dream team. Let's get into it, shall we? So in the front row, I think Malcolm Marks is still on his day the best hooker in the world. I don't think this year was the strongest season, to be perfectly honest. I think that he had some really good games and started to look a lot better, more like himself. But I think that his lineouts this year weren't always phenomenal. And I think that I just don't think he was the sort of Malcolm Marks we sort of gained to know. He had very good games, but I personally think that Piotr Mavaka was probably more consistent throughout the year, and he's been a revelation. I mean, Julian Marchand was next to the likes of Malcolm Marks, one of the best hookers in the world at the stage, and Piotr Mavaka has actually kind of benched him, to be honest. Based on the back of that World Cup form. Oxlade has to be the loose head. I think Tyrell Lomax probably has to be, the most improved player of the year. He's really, really revolutionised that New Zealand front row. I do think that Cody Taylor had a good shot at being in the number 2 jersey. I think he had a really good year and needed to, for example. So I think I was very impressed with what I saw from him as well. In the second row, I'll go with Evan Etzebeth and Ty Byrne, and what the sort of World Rugby went. Honorable mentions. I think that Scott Barrett has had a reasonable year, but I don't think he's really sort of into sort of World Player of the Year sort of nominations. I don't think that, like some Mario Toja, who's always sort of characteristically been in quite a few dream teams. I don't think he's been as strong as he'd like to have been this year. So, I think Ty Bird's absolutely fantastic. And so obviously we all know what Evan's about. And then in terms of the loose trio, I've gone slightly different. So I put in Wallace Satiti. This might not be the most balanced loose trio, but I put in Wallace Satiti. I think he's been absolutely amazing. And since he started for New Zealand, for example, they're now suddenly looking at potentially what's going to be a new role for Artie Severe. They're potentially looking at Satiti at 8, for example. He did win World Breakthrough Player of the Year, and I think that he has been absolutely tremendous this year, and very, very exciting. He's probably been the most exciting player to have sort of really debut and get going this year, and that's why he's been recognised with that Breakthrough Player of the Year. You then got to go with Peter Steph. He was named the best player in the world last night, and so deserved. Just the 4th player ever to win it for a second time, the first ever South African to win it for a second time, and then Caelan Doris at 8. Also, I think a fairly straightforward decision to make. Notable mentions, I think Benel has been getting progressively better and better for England. And Artie Severe can still change the game, but I don't think he's been as effective this year as he has previous years. So I've gone with Caelan Doris, who I think deserved his World Player nomination, to be honest. In terms of the halfback pairing, at number 9, I've gone with Jamison Gibson Park. No Anton Dupont, he barely played for France this year. And somebody the other day was talking about Grant Williams. And I mean, you look at the amount of time Grant Williams actually played, game time-wise. Jamison Gibson Park, I'll be very interested to see what would happen in that South African series in the mid-year if he had played, because I think he's an absolute game changer. But I thought that during the Six Nations he was absolutely superb. And I partnered with him with Finn Russell. Now, the World Rugby sort of dream team had Damian McKenzie at 10. I thought Damian McKenzie had some really, really good games and some games where there was still a bit of doubts, to the point where he actually didn't even end up starting at 10. You know, he was kind of dropped in inverted commas as a 10 by Scott Robertson. And if you're not even nailed down at this stage within your team, I don't think you can be sort of named the best number 10 in the world. Jack Crowley, I think, threatened to get there this year, but towards the end of the year has been a bit shaky. The Bok 10 has been changing too often, really, to really have an option there. Intermax was struggling with injuries, so we've seen Thomas Ramos, for example, playing for France in the number 10 jersey during the Autumn Nations series. Marcus Smith, I think, has probably had it as a decent shot in here, but I've gone with Finn Russell. It was very, very good during the Six Nations. It was a long time ago, but I think second leading point scorer in the end, and continues to be the game changer for Scotland. In terms of your centres, very, very controversial, maybe leaving out Damien Delende. Tommaso Menicello was the Six Nations player of the tournament, and I think he's been absolutely superb. He's played, I think it's almost like every single game for Italy so far this year. He's played one game on the wing there, but he's been part of Italy drawing with France, beating, I think it was beating Wales, beating Scotland. So they've had a really good year this year, have Italy, and he's been at the heart of that. He's been their best player. So I'll put him in at 12, and I partnered with Jesse Creel. There's no outside centre out there at the moment who for me is better than Jesse Creel. Some of my favourite outside centres, Rico Wani is obviously always a very popular option in terms of your sort of top outside centres. I really enjoy watching Gael Fiku play. The likes of Gary Ringrose, Robbie Henshaw, when they're on song, are very talented players. But I just don't think we've quite seen it enough. Ignacio Brex as well is good, always a fun player to watch. Lucio Cinti, I think, is one to watch from Argentina. And then in terms of the back three, I have gone with Will Jordan in the number 11 jersey. He started playing fullback, yes, towards the end of the year. And then chosen Colby in the other wing, which I don't think anyone's arguing. Interestingly enough, if you go and look at numbers-wise, for example, James Lowe's obviously scored a lot of tries this year. He was a tough one to leave out. And tell you what, Dylan van der Merwe actually had a really good year in terms of his strike rate this year and how many tries he's scored at the moment. France, for example, in terms of not having a lot of players in the year, despite being one of the top 4 sides in the world, have got an interesting year because they obviously don't sort of send the strongest side in the mid-year, and then all of a sudden they have to come and sort of play towards the back end now in the Autumn Nations series, so that might be counting against them. But I've gone with Jean-Cruz Mali at fullback. I think he's been terrific. I think that, speaking of Flyhouse, I think Thomas Albanose, if he had been backed a bit sooner by Contoponi, then I think he could have actually been in the mix. I think he's really changed the entire sort of complexion of the Argentinian side. You could have had, for example, a Will Jordan at fullback, and I don't think you would have been a bad decision. You could have had Thomas Ramos at fullback as well. So lots of potential options you could have actually had at fullback. I think Apple Fassi's had a really strong season for the Box, but I think John Cruz Malia has been on a different level over there. So in my team, there are 5 South Africans. I don't have Damien Delende in there, and I don't have Malcolm Marx. I've got 1 French player, 1 Italian player. I've got 3 Irish players, 3 New Zealand players, an Italian, and an Argentinian, and a Scot. So it's pretty varied, to be fair. I like the fact that there are quite a few nations represented compared to, for example, the World Rugby one, which has Argentina, Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa. That's it. Yeah. No Scotland involved there, no Italy involved there. No, so I've got more nations. They've basically just taken the entire sort of top 4 sides and then thrown in Paulo Matera from Argentina there. But no French players. There's a wild shout. What do you think? Let me know what you would change down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.